Welcome to the Bulls Recap Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 12. I'm Joe Cowley of the Chicago Sun-Times. You can obviously read me in the Chicago Sun-Times. You can follow me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at JCowleyHoops. Follow at your own risk. Don't care if you do. Don't care if you don't. I've talked about this before. The beat, to me, the beat is like a second family. It's just the way it is. That was my feeling when I covered the White Sox for 12 years, covering the Bulls now for year 13. It's just a family, and you hope you all get along, and you hope when someone new comes in that that person doesn't rock the boat and that person fits in. We got lucky. He's a kid, but we got lucky. Joel Lorenzi from The Athletic. First year on the Bulls beat. Yeah, he's young. He teaches us boomers things. Wears a lot of cologne, but he's my guy, so let's bring him in. What's up, buddy? I wore your favorite hat. I know you love when I got my hat on. Now we lost your volume.
Hey,
there we go.
Make sure you show them the ball at the top of the hat.
Oh, dude, the ball
it's not in the screen right now.
Yeah, see?
Yep.
The ball makes. Buddy Hield had it on. You said Buddy Hield was shooting with the hat.
He shot with it on.
I keep my house about 68 degrees, so you need a little hat.
I love this setup too, and thanks for putting in my intro that I wear too much cologne for you. Thanks for that. Our viewers should know that it's probably a fair amount of cologne for anybody else that doesn't solely wear Dr. Squatch bar of soap, as they're saying.
Harry's.
My bad. Harry's.
That's all you need. When you shower, you just need some Harry's or Dr. Squatch, some shampoo, and get the hell out. That's it. Man smell. Man smell is just, it stands alone. You don't need to add stuff to it. So, all right, so you're a Chicago guy. You're from Chicago, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep. Born and raised on the west side. My mom's still over there in West Humble, and then went to Whitney Young for high school. And then ever since college, kind of been moving around since, but lived here all my life otherwise.
And so you were covering the Thunder, correct?
Yep, last 2 years covering Thunder. My first year there was Giddy's last year, and then my second and last year there was the championship.
So was the goal always to get back to Chicago, or was the goal to change from newspaper to The Athletic? I mean, what was more of a precedent for you?
Yeah, it was more newspaper to The Athletic, just to sort of get some freedom as far as deadlines and just the type of stories it seemed like they prioritize. That was the goal for me. Like if I would have hit the right newspaper, like sure, I probably would have took another newspaper job, but this kind of was always the place I wanted to be at, just solely looking at like my teammates like Marcus Thompson and David Aldridge and some of the people we got on the squad and the work they do. Like that was more so the goal. And then, newspapers now, like you know this better than most people, like I would even say you have a more classic and maybe better deadline situation than most. Like my deadline at the Oklahoman had gotten to be 3 p.m.
Yeah, that's not
on most days.
Yeah,
which is like, that's a shell of the former newspaper at that point. And so it got to a point where I'm like, I don't know if I could keep doing that part, and this was kind of, I wasn't even trying to come back to Chicago, but it was like right place, right time sort of thing. Got in with the company and got to come back to the crib. So it kind of just all made sense.
I don't think people don't really give a damn about the intricacies of the newspaper and how it works. But
Sure.
Yes, I am a caveman in the newspaper business because I have a 10 o'clock deadline, which when back in the day, when you came up in this business, if it was a daily paper that didn't print in the afternoon, your deadline was 10, 11 o'clock, and you have to hit your deadline. And every minute you're over deadline costs the company X amount of money. But most newspapers now, I'd say probably 90%, 80%, they operate at an early deadline where guys don't even really write the game story and get the score in and all that stuff. That's what you should no one cares about. But yes, I am at a classic make your deadline or your ass is in trouble newspaper, and I love it because when I'm done, I'm done. While you're still at the canvas creating
Yeah.
whatever time. Sometimes on the road, you're like, yeah, I'm not going to sleep. I got to write. And so you'll come to the flight just not sleeping. I couldn't do that, man.
Yeah.
It's
And
not
for
required.
and for a classic man like you, it's nice, right? Like you said, you're
Oh,
done.
yes.
You get to go to sleep at a regular time. For me, it's I care less about that only because like I'm at an age, or I mean, the writing is like a craft for me. Like I care about
Right.
the work, and I'm at an age where I hang on to every word and everything I write. So like not sleeping for the sake of that, for peace of mind and my work, I can live with that.
How hard was it for you to say, I'm leaving a championship caliber organization, and that reputation of that organization is they don't really give a damn about the media, and they treat the media as such.
Yeah.
But how tough is it to leave a product that is going to get a lot of eyes on it just because, I mean, we all felt like that thing was boiling over into a championship for a couple of years to come to mediocrity hell, because that's what this team has been for years.
Yeah, I'll be the voice of reason here, which is probably what anybody's gonna be when they're lined up next to you. But I'll say, like, OKC cared about the media, and Sam Presti, for whatever reason, cared about the media. They just wanted to curate the narratives themselves and craft the narratives
There you go.
themselves, which is like manipulative and whatever, but they care. Here, you're right. Like I knew I was destined for mediocrity. I at least from the outside coming in assumed this team would be more fun than it's been. You saw some glimpse of that in the first 5 games, but
Yeah.
it was hard for me. Like there were trade-offs like with anything, right? Like I thought I had built a pretty good rapport with that locker room. There were some fun dudes in there. Everybody was my age because they were like they still are one of the youngest teams in the league. So it was just easy to be around them. Granted, and I think like if people have never read that Grantland story that Brian Curtis wrote back in the day about the sort of Russell Westbrook versus the media was kind of how it was painted, but like it was really about the environment they fostered between media and players. Like it wasn't to that degree. That team had no Russ or KD,
Right.
but the barrier was sort of similar. And because these guys either were like COVID babies and they had either came in the league after COVID or they were in college during COVID or whatever, that barrier was kind of all they knew, especially going to OKC and having that be further cultivated. So that part was hard, but I enjoyed being around that team. It was easy. Like when you're writing about greatness, it's easy. If you're right, it's either you're writing about supreme greatness or you're writing about crazy losing. Like I guess those are the easiest things to write about per se. But like also losing gets to a point at least where people are gonna check out some. Like people are gonna check out. That part is hard, right?
Yeah.
Versus out there, their winning is monotonous and people don't like their version of winning. But people out there, at least, we're gonna keep breeding because
There you
it
go.
looks like a dynasty, So it was hard, but again, I left to get better at the craft and to be around teammates and editors who I thought could make me better at this juncture of my career. So I don't regret it yet, but we'll see. And then,
Keyword yet.
right, and you can't let the team you cover dictate your move,
No.
because if like, God forbid, if Shea was to get hurt, then what? Obviously, Shea's not the whole thing, but it's a big part, right? So
Yeah.
like, you can't make decisions based on that type of stuff.
All right, let's get into the Bulls. We got a Vooch clip here that the Crime Dog's going to run, and we'll take it from there.
As a locker room, how do you guys make sure that when you have a group that has 8 potential free agents in walk years, that guys just don't start checking out and saying, hey, it is what it is, and
I honestly don't think we have those type of guys. The conversations we had in the locker room, the communications we had in the locker room so far it's always been about staying together, working through this. obviously it's been a bad run for us. Like lost like tonight really, hurts when you lose by almost 30, or maybe it was even 30. I don't even know. It's just when you're on a 7-game losing streak, it feels pretty bad. We all disappointed. We all know we can do better, but I just don't think we have guys that are going to check out and each go our own way, because we know that's not going to be the solution. That's not going to make things any better. So I think we do have pretty good group of guys, and I think guys do want to figure this out, and so that's why I said these next 4 days, hopefully we can use them to regroup and come out of it, and play better basketball.
First of all, I'm taller than the camera angle. I was holding my phone down here. I don't come up to freaking Vooch's freaking rib cage. I mean, look, if he got me in the post, it'd be Murder, She Wrote, but I'm not. I'm a little taller than that. But so here, first of all, I mean, we'll get into these next 4 days, or these 4 days that are currently going on leading into this game in Charlotte. But did you buy? I usually am the pessimist. I usually don't buy in. My dumbass bought in. I saw how they were getting along in the offseason, and it was the same group. I saw how they were getting along in training camp, and I remember I brought up the 2005 White Sox as a comparison when guys just all really love each other and care about each other. And then the way they started off, I was like, oh, yeah, this is sustainable, because teams aren't going to want to run like this. Well, they didn't out of the gate. And now what I'm seeing, Miami's, Orlando, all the teams that were slow, everybody's running. The difference is dudes are defending on the other end, and this team is not. And so, first of all, did you buy in? And secondly, how shocked are you that this thing has just gone into the mud like it has?
Yeah, I believe the template. I thought with the core pieces they had, like I thought it became obvious pretty soon after the streak, even when it wasn't this bad. They're like, okay, the template is still probably worth believing, like being fast, building around Josh. And again, I know people, like you could argue whether that's a championship contender. It's probably not, but we got to consider the standard of winning here in Chicago and what has been the
Right.
last 30 years. It's not OKC. And so I thought that template could work and be maybe a playoff team, but the pieces are just, this team is so clearly it's constructively flawed. Like it's just flawed. And it's like you mentioned, like we keep pointing to different parts of the team where it's hemorrhaging, the defense, the offense, the shot selection, the twos they take on defense, Vooch. And I know you like to say, Vooch has never been this guy, but it just happens to be that they need a rim protector now,
There you go.
And so that's an issue. And then he's also challenging way more than anybody of his stature should be challenging at the rim, because the perimeter defense is hemorrhaging. Like they got so many issues to patch up, and you probably need X number. Like I know people are going to say, well, if you got this many guys down, I'm starting to feel like this team, the injury report needs to be immaculate for this thing to even have a chance. Like they need really 10, 11 guys, and not just 10, 11 guys, but 10, 11 guys playing at average across the board at minimum to make this thing work and have a chance. I thought that was what you saw. There was no, like Pat Williams was starting to look like a revelation because he looked average, right?
Yeah.
Kevin Huerter was kind of looking like a fringe starter. Trey Jones, I still like Trey Jones as a player, but he was disruptive in that stretch and getting paint touches. Like you look across the board, guys were at minimum average, and they had all their dudes. And so I just think there's you ask me, there's probably some arrogance baked in into the idea of coming into the season and adding just one guy from that 15 and whatever stretch at the end of
15-5. Yeah.
15
Trust me,
and
we
5.
heard it 1,000 times in
Yeah.
the spring. Yeah.
So there's probably some arrogance baked into that to say, because you look at the teams across the league, and even then, when teams are saying, yeah, we're going to leave this core untouched, they might add two guys or a guy more substantial than Okoro to that core and say, okay, well, generally we're going to leave this untouched. But you look at the teams and at what juncture they're going to a core that already has a star and saying, okay, we're gonna leave this untouched and see how it plays out this year. They're in better scenarios than this Bulls team was coming into the year. So there's probably some arrogance baked in. And then as far as the camaraderie, like that is it was worth noting because the two teams that were just in the finals talked about it endlessly, how close they
Right.
were, how
Yeah.
it mattered into their runs. So it's not nothing. But also like, and Billy kind of hit on this yesterday. The variable that probably wasn't factored in is that those teams are battle tested. Like going back to OKC before they really turned the corner a few years back, like they've had that play in where they lost to Minnesota. Like they used that as fuel and they were that close to earning a bid in the playoffs, and they kind of had that, whereas the Bulls, the most this core has had has been getting, like most recently they were blown out in the play-in. Like that's a scar, but that's not a battle test experience. Like, you just got your ass whooped. Like it's not like they succeeded together um in this sort of, like tough scenario. And so now maybe if they come out of this all right, like this will be them saying, oh, we're battle tested, but like, even Indiana, that core has seen some things together
Yeah.
and I just don't know that you can leave this core together long enough to see them be battle tested in the end.
You brought up a good word, arrogance. And I think that's one of the ongoing issues with this front office is there is an arrogance with Arturas Karnisovas that he is not only the only voice in the room, he is the smartest voice in the room. His draft record is getting worse and worse by the day. When you think about Patrick Williams, and look, we all accepted after year 3 or 4 that he was not going to carry number 4 value. But then when you extended him, the hope is that he's carrying some kind of value. And like you said, the first month of the season, including preseason, I was like, okay. And I was like, I'm not going to do a story about Patrick Williams has finally got it. I'm not going to do a story, Patrick. And then finally in Portland, I'm like, you know what? This dude may have finally got it. I'm going to do a story. And I write it. And ever since then, it looks like he doesn't get it anymore. And then Dalen Terry, I think Dalen Terry is an NBA player. I think he's a rotation player. I just don't know exactly what he is because of how they're using him and how they're not using him at times. But the biggest one that is just an indictment on a daily basis is this draft class is whooping ass all over the league, whether it's Con Canippo, Cooper Flag, Derek Queen's triple-double yesterday, Coward. I mean, just everywhere. They got the one freaking dude who was not only not usable right away for a team that needed usable pieces and basically drafted him as a red shirt because they have no urgency. And now he's out for the year, which to me, this was his red shirt year where you were going to feed him and get him bigger and get him in his ass in the weight room. And now that's set back. So who knows how long before this project comes to fruition. And it's not his fault. But no, the Noa Essengue draft may end up being just haunting. That's the frustration level, is besides being just a shit product right now, you can't even get excited. Modest is probably the only thing you could get excited about. I think that's the frustration that not only the media is feeling, but more importantly, the fan base is feeling.
Yeah, and I think potentially the most haunting part of the Senge draft pick and maybe blunder, I think he still has potential. You're looking at a guy that probably will be good when this team doesn't exist anymore. Like
There you go.
maybe he'll outlive this regime, or maybe he'll be good somewhere else. Like if you want to get granular, you look at the advanced numbers and his free throw rate, even dating back to a prospect. Like he gets fouls. Like with time, I think he can really be good. I don't know about this Project Giannis stuff, but I think he can really be good. And so that's probably the most haunting part, is that maybe he'll be good when it doesn't matter to these Bulls anymore. And you make a good point, right? Like Derek Queen was right there. That was a guy I was hoping, like when I knew I was gonna get this job, I'm like, man, I'd love to cover Derek Queen solely for the fact like he's a great talker, great
Yeah.
personality. I think he would have added to this locker room in a major way. Um, and now he's like a hell of a player already. So it sucks for sure. I pumped the brakes on the evaluation for Senge, but it just it aligns with this idea that and maybe I can't even call it an idea. There's just so much confusion surrounding the timelines that this regime operates under. Like you're looking at a Senge should be a contributor 2 years from now, maybe three now. But to be safe too. And uh, other guys, you got 8 expirings, you got the Josh Giddey and the deal he's on probably put some pressure on you to operate in that 4 years because he's never gonna make this little again until he's washed up. And so like there's just so many conflicting timelines and it's just hard to detect which way they're going and which way they want to operate in. You said it too with the Pat Williams pick. Like this regime has not helped itself with drafting. It's easy to say in hindsight, like, oh well, Pat Williams didn't start for his college team. I can understand taking risks and going outside the box, but I mean, and I'm no evaluator, but the results are just easy to shit on, frankly.
Yeah.
It's just rough, and the conflicting timelines just don't make it any better.
All right. So, given what we have to work with, given what we know right now, the contract situation, I'm not even going to go back because if I start going back, I'm going to be like, well, hell, you should have never traded Jimmy Butler, and that was the old regime, not this regime.
Yeah.
But I'm still stuck on that. That when you have a two-way player like that, you freaking give him whatever he wants. But they're a lot smarter than me. I'm a big dope. Obviously, because they're just winning their ass off here. With what you have, the template that you talked about right now, what would be Joel Lorenzi's fix right now? I mean, as of today, going into the Charlotte game on Friday, what would be your fix? I mean, are you riding this thing out? Are you looking to blow this thing up? Are you looking to try and make a big swing, whether it's getting the Giannis sweepstakes, which they have no lottery ticket for, but it's a fun story, or Anthony Davis, whatever it is, how would you try and turn this thing around?
To save the direction of the franchise, you mean?
Or to change the direction? I mean,
Right.
do you ride out the mediocrity? How would you? What would be your plan?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been on Team Tank. Just
Right.
I think obviously there's such risks involved, and you risk. I think the biggest risk in the office in the minor front offices is wasting time because time is precious in this league and alienating a fan base potentially. But I've seen very few fan bases that are just this welcoming at this point of a tank. Like I think
There
they
you go.
understand, that a tank is probably the only way out of this hole at this point, this years long hole. And so I've always been pro tank, especially like obviously it's hard to make OKC the template. They operate with one of the smartest dudes in sports at the helm, great evaluation team, um, different hierarchy there. And obviously they had insane luck with acquiring Shea, acquiring all the picks,
Yeah.
getting Chet, getting J Dub. Like they had insane luck. But it has to be a tank for me. Like I would ship Kobe White probably deserves to play for a playoff team. I could think of several teams in the mix who could probably use him. I mean, there seems to be this thing right now where teams are just lacking secondary ball handlers or frankly just point guards, which makes it even bitter for teams that have to play against OKC because they got AJ Mitchell out of thin air. So, ship Kobe White to a winner, ship Vooch, if that's even possible at this juncture, or maybe buy him out. Because earlier on, I was a little bit torn about this. I know you see value in Vooch. My thing is Vooch can only play for so many contenders right now. I think Golden State
Yeah.
was obviously like the most viable option, but Quinn Post does a lot of the same stuff for like so much less money. And like Vooch, if being a locker room stabilizer was like one of the reasons, like if if you looked at the clip from a few weeks back where he's telling Jalen Smith like knock it off, that was supposed to be part of his resume as like a stabilizer, and I want to play serious ball. Like he hasn't really adhered to his own message as far as engagement, so it's probably throwing off some of his value. I don't know, but ship him off. Um, it just takes so long to build a defense, Joe, which is their biggest issue. And
Yes.
I think you should probably be trying to buy low on guys and nip at the margins. And it's so hard to get you can't conjure a Chet Holmgren out of thin air, or Evan Mobley out of thin air. So I can see some of the appeal for people where they're like, oh, maybe trade for AD. I wouldn't, just because he's a broken player to me. And um, there are so many issues you're acquiring when you bring on a guy like AD, and it's bad process to me. Like my thing is they should be about process, like shipping off assets and not acquiring spoiled ones like a Ja Morant, a Zion Williamson, AD. That's just good process. Like we talk about the New Orleans stuff, like Derek Queen is a good player, but what they did with their pick in this upcoming draft to get him, it's bad
Killer.
process. It's
Yes.
bad process. So the Bulls should be about good process moving forward. Results aside, whatever, like it's just there's only one, to me, feasible way to move on from this, and it's to outright tank. They're on a 7-game losing streak, so they're clearly headed that way. You can argue, well, maybe they can dig out of this hole, but if the best case scenario for them now is to be right back where they've been the past 3 years. And I can tell you right now, guys in that locker room are not a fan of the playing, both as a concept and being participants of it again. So there's only way out of this to me.
The only guy that you mentioned that I would take a swing at, and this is just me, and it probably would
You're
be
gonna
bad
you're gonna say
business.
Zion. I know you are.
I'm going to say Zion
Yep.
because I just think when he plays, okay, get the stripper stuff out. That's fine. That's his thing. That's fine. I'm fine with that. That ain't a problem.
Sure.
But when he plays, he does stuff that very few other players can do. And so that's, to me, if you could, I know the hamstring is just an ongoing thing and might always be his thing. But if that's the route they're picking as far as trading and trying to get an impact player in, John Morant, AD, they don't have the wheels for Giannis. So I'm like, because that's land of fairy tales.
Yeah.
Zion's the only one that I'd say, all right, I'll take a swing on him because of where I am and just what he is when he plays. Everything else, I agree with you 100%. They should have been – they didn't have the hindsight and the wherewithal to say – I mean, when the Wizards front office is operating smarter than you because they say 25 and 26 draft classes are must-haves as far as just as high as you can get up, whether the lottery process treats you well or screws you, because, they feel it's worth it, this front office doesn't recognize that. They just think the lottery process is too complex and to try and navigate. And I think it's ridiculous, especially with this 26 draft class. I mean, you just got to get a little bit of luck. Look at Dallas. I mean, it just, Charlotte with Concanipple, I loved him throughout the entire last season and talked about it numerous times on this podcast and saw that coming. So, all right. Interrogation room. You ready?
Oh,
a little
boy.
fun.
Okay.
All right. We talk about your age a lot on the beat. What are you, like 26?
26, yeah.
All right, I'm going to name pop culture people from movies and TVs, and you tell me if you recognize the name.
Oh, geez.
All right?
Yeah.
All right. Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Who the hell? That's a
Mike.
person?
The movie Gladiator.
Gotcha.
Clubber
Okay.
Lang.
Clubber Lang, that's Mr. T's character, ain't it?
Oh, against Balboa. Clubber Lang.
Yeah.
I love that. All
Yeah.
right. Sonny Corleone.
That's Godfather, right?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Vinny Barbarino.
The
Vinny
way it came
Barbarino.
off your lips, bro, I don't know who that is. You could have told me that was an extra in Sopranos. I would have believed you. Who's that?
Welcome back, Cotter. Vinny Barbarino. John Travolta.
Welcome back, who?
Character. Welcome back, Cotter.
Cotter?
Oh my God, the greatest '70s show there ever was.
70s, dude. I don't. My
All right, I'm
parents
just
were
saying,
like kids
might
in the
have just
70s.
might have just seen it on like a Rewind or Nick at
What were
Night.
you doing in the 70s?
Chilling.
Yeah.
being
I'll leave
cool,
it there. I'll leave it
wearing
there.
cool pants, bright pants, digging holes. I used to walk around. I showed you
Bell
the
bottoms?
picture. Probably. I used to walk around in the summer. I showed you the picture. They used to call me Dirty Joe. I was afraid to wear shorts. I would wear long pants and I'd carry a shovel around. And when they build houses, I'd go to the houses while the frame and stuff's on, and I'd break out the glass windows with the shovel until I got caught. But Dirty Joe, if you saw Dirty Joe walking around with a shovel, he was up to no good. Al Bundy.
That's bro, Al Bundy. I'm trying to think of the name. It's the family TV show.
You got it. Okay, you got it.
Okay.
That counts. That counts. Carlton
All right.
Banks. Got it.
Carlton Banks. Come on, that's
Okay.
Fresh Prince. Come on now.
All right. Denise Huxtable.
That's Bill Cosby show.
Lisa Bonet. Yep. Michael Scott. We're going to move more into your area. Michael Scott.
This is The Office, and I wish
Oh.
Netflix ruined the lore behind The Office, because when The Office was special to me was when I grew up. When I didn't have cable, that would come on Fox 32, and you would have to watch The Office after school. That was when it was special to me. Then it
Okay.
became widely available, and then everybody's personality becomes The Office, and now it's like annoying.
All right. Walter White.
That's Breaking Bad. I never finished
Okay.
Breaking Bad, by the way. I gotta finish that, but
All right,
no
last-
no knock to the show.
Alonzo Harris.
Alonzo Harris. Why am I blanking here? Alonzo Harris.
Because the last name is going to throw you off. A lot of people don't realize his last name.
Can I get a hint here? This sounds so familiar.
Ethan Hawke.
Oh, this is Training Day.
Denzel's character in Training Day.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's pretty good. You did way better than I thought you would do.
Hell yeah.
All right, you ready? Here we go. Question number 2. Most mature person on the beat. KC, Julia, Will Gottlieb, Sam Smith, me, or you?
We could rule out the last two. Damn. I mean, I think Sam's candidacy here by default, because he's like 80, has to be considered. KC's up there. Julia's
Old
pretty
soul.
Julia's
KC's not
pretty
that mature.
mature.
KC looks the part. He's not that mature.
Sure. I think it's between probably Julia and Sam. I guess I'll go Sam by default. I mean, you can't really
I'd
be immature at 80.
I go Julia. All right. For debate reasons, MJ or LeBron?
LeBron. Sorry to your viewers. What do you think?
LeBron.
Oh,
Like last shot, MJ. Build a team around and run a season through LeBron.
well, we're doing weird gymnastics when we say last shot. We're doing,
But I'm just saying that's my whole thing with them. My bigger comparison is LeBron and Magic, and I would take LeBron because that's a more fair comparison. Both of them uplift players instead of smacking them and telling them their shit like MJ does.
well, it works.
Best interviewer, best person to interview on the Bulls team.
Best person to interview.
You get a vibe from.
Javon Carter's great to talk to. Vooch is a consummate pro. I think those two, and then maybe a dark horse is like Kobe White.
Okay. In pickup basketball, who's your NBA comp?
I've been called. I don't get to hoop a lot these days. I was called when I used to run at OKC. Variations of Rondo and Lonzo Ball. Probably injured Lonzo Ball, but Lonzo Ball. I'm like a pick up the ball.
And go?
Pass first, that
Gotcha.
sort of thing. So
All right. You could cover any other NBA team besides OKC and the Bulls. What would it be?
if I could cover any other, probably Golden State. They just always got something to write about, man. Like you would never, and maybe it's probably exhausting at some point, but you always have storylines. Like if I could have chronicled the whole Steph era, I would probably be an author by now. It seems very easy to cover, which you gotta love.
TV show right now that's a guilty pleasure of yours. Probably no one knows you're watching.
No one knows I'm watching. Damn. I don't know about TV show. I'm kind of ashamed to admit this because I'm more of a movie guy, to be honest.
All right.
I mean, I got like Ballers going right now, HBO. I've been into some
Yeah,
HBO shows. That's not a
that's
guilty.
not a guilty
No,
pleasure. That's
my guilt, but where I'm going with this though, Joe. I woke up last night around 3.
Is this going to be that Dragon Pop thing that everyone's talking about?
What? No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
That
But
Dragon Pop movie that everyone's talking about.
anyway, I woke
All
up
right,
at
go ahead.
3 a.m. and I didn't go back to sleep till like 6
Yeah,
a.m.
your sleep habits are horrible.
because I was watching The Devil Wears Prada for the first time. So sue me.
Yeah, that's not. I just don't think you need to get up and watch it at 3. But yeah, that's not an awful movie.
Why was up?
Like me, like right now, Southern Charm. That's my guilty
What is
pleasure.
Southern Charm? What is that?
Housewives of Beverly Hills. I like it. I don't know.
That's
I like it.
horrible, dude.
The only housewife show I like Beverly Hills. Don't know why. I just do.
Well, when that's the bar, I'm never gonna pass.
Yeah,
that.
ours way lower than yours, but I'm not getting up at 3 to watch it. What current NBA player would you build around?
Shea, or Wemby for sure.
All right, Shea, second best mid-range guy in the game.
Tell him who's first.
DeRozan.
Oh my God!
Based on longevity, not the last couple of years, but longevity and just
Can-
craftsmanship.
When a guy, you want to talk about craftsmanship? When a guy shoots better from 2 than Shaq ever did in LA, you have to consider him as the best mid-range craftsman in the game.
For 2 years. You can do it for 12 and then get back.
It's a what have you done for me lately league, by the way.
Bulls media is in a private plane going to a game. Plane goes down on an island. Here's the members involved.
Where's
We all
this
live.
going?
All right. Julia, KC, Sam, Will, yourself, Cody Westerland, Mike McGraw, and Drew Stevens, and myself.
Okay.
Who's the first eaten? Who's the last survivor?
Who's the first eaten by what?
By us. Somebody's got to be eaten.
Oh hell no.
Casey's a vegetarian, so he might not want to partake. But
That's grass fed, so maybe Casey's first eaten. I don't know. What were the other questions?
who's the last survivor?
I mean, I would be dumb not to say me just because I have self-belief. But I also I'm not a great swimmer, so if there's like swimming involved on this island, like I don't know.
No, we landed
that'll help
on
me.
the island. All right.
You
Like
gotta
I would do
probably-
something stupid. I would probably die pretty quickly. Like I'd be like, "Hey, there's a lion. I'm gonna make it a pet." You know what I mean?
What
I'm gonna
island
tame
is
this
this?
lion.
What island is this, bro? Jurassic
It's-
Park?
No, it's Cowley Island. What's the difference? It's a freaking island. You know me. I always come up with things I think I could do. I think I could land a plane in emergency. I think I could do a trach on somebody if they're like can't breathe.
Yeah. You think you
I
could
think-
be Red Panda,
I think I could do the red panda stuff, just not on the unicycle.
which
But I
is half the act, by the way.
Okay, but I preface it. I could flip the bowls up. You give me a couple days, I'll flip bowls, plastic bowls, and make them catch. And who's the old dude that climbs up on the chairs? The great, you know who I'm talking about.
I
He
don't.
stacks the chairs. The old dude, and he does this at the top.
I don't think I ever catch his act.
All right, I can do that, except the part where you do the handstand on the 30 feet up. But I can do everything else. I could climb those stairs. There's a lot of stuff I could do. All right, I'm gonna get you out of here. I got.
To
What?
answer your
What were you-
question, Dark Horse probably Drew Stevens. Just Casey's
That's what I was
dying.
gonna say. I think Drew's seen some things.
Yeah, and Casey's dying pretty quickly just because, like, come on, dude, you don't even eat. He's vegetarian. Like, what is he gonna eat? Blades of grass on the island? Like, he's dying pretty quickly.
Joel, good to have you on the beat. Glad you could join the podcast. Loved it. And you going to Charlotte?
I'm not going to Charlotte.
Oh, that's
Are you?
such a great decision. Yeah, I'm going to Charlotte. Yeah. Got to see Con. Got to see Knipple.
Right.
My guy. All right, brother. Thanks for doing this, man. Appreciate you.
Always, man. My guy.
All right. Take care. Hey, look, the beat's been great. Love it. Love it. Love having a young person that's my kid's age. It's great. All right, let's get to Cowley Island where there's lions and stuff. Yeah. Look, I get it. They're injured. When the whole NBA is injured. The other night, you had Vooch, Giddey, Kobe White off minutes restrictions, Ayo back, who's been a starter before, and Modest. Golden State was without Draymond and Steph, and had some dudes that one dude that was a lacrosse player, and Jimmy Butler, and then this cast of Buccaneers, and you got run from tip-off to final horn. You got run out of the gym. Don't want to hear about injuries. Don't want to hear about when. Don't want to hear it anymore. Go out and play ball. If this thing is so fragile that you have to have 10, 11 guys healthy, then, again, it gets back to a faulty roster construction. Shame on you, Arturas and Mark Eversley. All right, let's get to the list. We are past the quarter mark, and I'm going to tell you anyone that's watched this before, love this 25 draft class, love the 26 draft class that's upcoming. Wish the Bulls valued it as much as I do, but there's some dudes that are doing some dude things in this draft class. Top 7 right now. Number 7, Cedric Coward, Memphis. Fits right in with their mentality, grind city. Number 6, only because he's a little fragile. He was fragile at Rutgers. He's been fragile in the NBA so far, hoping it's not a trend. It's just, circumstance. Dylan Harper, when he plays, he's top 5, top 4. Again, a little injury set this guy back, but preseason and early season, VJ Edgecombe, everyone knows how I felt about him. If you watch this podcast, loved him, loved his athleticism, explosion, great fit there. Number 4, been sneaky, Jeremiah Ferris. Look at the numbers. Rookie's been balling for New Orleans. Number 3, their other rookie, Derek Queen, been balling, triple-double the other night. Number 2, it's going to be a shocker because everyone knows I'm a big Cooper Flagg stan. Number 2 is Cooper Flagg. Does it all. As good as advertised. Believe the hype. He's only shooting like 25% from 3 or something ugly that will get better. Number 1, my man, the other Duke guy, Con Knipple. Picked him. If you go back to the Sun Times preview, I picked him as Rookie of the Year for the East. Does it all. I do know for a fact the Bulls loved him, but knew they could not get him. God forbid they try trading up to land talent. Can't do that. I think he's the adult in the room. I think he changes the entire outlook of what Charlotte is trying to build, because now you could say, thank you, LaMelo. You're an unserious basketball player. Con Knipple, number 1. That's it for the podcast this week. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Crime Dog. As always, thank Cap. Love doing this. Till next week, I got next.